Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chaff. I've been pacing around in my room for about 10 minutes straight trying to figure out just exactly what to say here, but I guess I'll just wing it, say what's on my mind, and see how it goes. But I guess to get to the point of what I want to say, I kind of want to give a bit of background about for the past 7 years, when I first moved out of my parents' place and then moved to Atlanta, I was going to college, a private college, and I was studying animation. And at that time, instead of living in the dorms, my parents went out of their way to pay for the rent and utilities put towards an apartment complex that was literally right next to the main campus. So that was pretty convenient for me. And at the time, I was living with my sister in a 2-bedroom apartment room. And, we were trying to split the cost of stuff. Now, I didn't have a job at the time. She did. And then my parents were paying for the other half of all of that. And, they would always tell me, oh, don't worry about money or anything. Just focus on school. Just focus on, your education, get good grades and all that. And we'll worry about the rest. And that was always a problem for me because, well, for one thing, I'm kind of in love with the idea of being able to take care of myself as much as possible, because not necessarily because I want to be self-sufficient. I mean, I do, of course. I want to be able to take care of myself as much as I can, but I don't want to be a burden on anyone else. And even though, parents, they're here to look out for you, take care of you and all that stuff, I just always felt bad about the fact that they were putting money towards this apartment and I wasn't making enough of a contribution to it. And that was always in the back of my mind whenever I was in my classes. And, that worried me too much and I couldn't focus. And that really affected my grades. So later on, my sister had moved out and she moved out of state. And then they put me in a 1-bedroom apartment. And, I was in that one while I was still in class. Now, over time, I still had these thoughts, these feelings about worrying about stuff. Like, I am an overthinker in every possible sense of the word, if that could exist. I always worrying about the what ifs and the, what could possibly go wrong and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I guess I kind of get that from my mother, even though I try not to be like that. But at some point, I ended up switching my course of study from animation to game design. And that didn't really last long at all, like barely a year. Like, I ended up putting, I was in college for longer than I should have been, and I wasn't making the progress that I should have been. And it was just costing so much money, and really I think that's what ended up putting a lot of pressure on me to the point where I eventually just had to just drop out. And as much as I might try to find myself, quote unquote, blaming my parents for putting all this pressure on me, I think a lot of it I put on myself. And that is kind of what killed my passion for art, because, that's not me. Like, when I first applied for that college, when they wanted me to send in a portfolio, I sent in these stupid Microsoft Paint comic strips that I used to draw back in high school. And I remember I used to be so proud of those. Like, that's the thing. I was so proud of myself for drawing comics in Microsoft Paint that I put them in a portfolio of a college application. Who's this cocky little shit? That's me? From 7 years ago? Yeah, that was me. I wish I could get back into that state of mind. And I've yet to, come back to that in 7 years. And, it's kind of dragged me down over time. but like we had to keep renewing the lease, in this current apartment because I hadn't found a cheaper alternative. And, even while I was in school, and then when I had dropped out, we were still there, and I wasn't able to find something in time before the lease was out, so we just ended up renewing it again. So I was just staying there, and I didn't get my job, like my current job, at a grocery store until like August of 2015. Yeah, I got it in 2015, and then I had dropped out in November of that year. So I don't know, I guess I didn't think I was prepared to handle balancing the job and school, even though that job was only part-time, but I guess I just couldn't handle it. I don't know. Like, I've always kind of been a late bloomer in terms of being an adult, even though I want to, be as much of an adult as possible, but I've always sort of kind of been a kid at heart. I don't really know how to take care of myself as well as I'd like to. So I was still staying at that apartment, still working part-time. I didn't spend a lot of money on stuff. I would just try to work, pay as much of my utilities as possible, and then my mother and father would pay the rest. And then in July of last year, my father passed away, and that only made things worse. And then we still have a lot of expenses, final expenses and stuff that need to be dealt with that we're still dealing with today. And it's just been rough. And like, I've only been working full-time at my current job for the past month. I started working full-time at the beginning of August of this year. And I had moved to I had moved to a new position as well, which paid a little bit more. And like, if I had known from the beginning that things would be like this, I would have taken that position from the beginning and worked full-time. But there's no point in worrying about, what could have been and what should have been. And, that's done. That's over. There's nothing I can do about that. What's done is done. So we got to focus on the now. So my current lease is going to be expiring in November the 10th. And we've definitely decided that we're not going to renew it this time. So I've been continuing to do some apartment hunting, just trying to find something cheaper. If I have to move, to the outskirts of town or maybe to another city altogether, that's fine with me. Like, there's no need for me to be in the dead center of Atlanta. There's nothing for me here. I don't really need to be around all this, city life. I'm not really, I don't really care all that much. So I'm prepared to move to a cheaper apartment. Like, I have the means, I just need to deal with these expenses and the rent and all that. Just kind of need to, like, smooth out these wrinkles and stuff until then. And ideally, I want to get to a new apartment. That's the goal. Keep the job and go to a new apartment. Worst case scenario, I might just end up moving back home with my mother for a while and until I can get back on my feet. And that's fine with me. Like, I've come to accept that it's a serious possibility that I'm going to have to move out and go back with my mother. That's fine. Like, I'm not as upset about that as I used to be. Like, before, I was always like, if I ever have to move back home, it's over. I'm done, game over. But now I understand that, it's not rock bottom. It could certainly be worse, but going back home would just simply be starting over. But I'm hoping I don't have to start over, but if I do, then that's also okay. It's just not as good of an option as finding the cheaper apartment. So we're going to focus on that for now. But, there's no easy way to say it, but I just kind of need a bit of help with that. So a month or two ago, like 2 months ago, I forget, but I set up a donation fund on GoFundMe.com, And I just figured, you know what? I'll just lay it all out there, tell people what's going on, and just rely on the generosity of friends and maybe strangers to kind of help me out. And I was surprised to see like the amount of attention and donations that I got. Like, I didn't think I would even meet my first goal, but I did. So, like, a huge thank you to my friends on Twitter and anyone else who's made donations this far. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that donation pool up and running until November the 10th, because, by that time, I'll have either officially moved out of the apartment or I'll be back home with my mother. But I just need a bit of assistance, paying bills and stuff, and just kind of lessening the burden on my mother until then. Like, that's the thing. Like, this donation thing isn't even about me as much as it is about just me not being such a pain on my mother and stuff. And because, she's got enough to deal with as it is, and I just don't want to have to, have all of my nonsense making her life worse. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll probably put a link to the GoFundMe page in the video description, and you can go there and donate if you want to. If you want to, you don't have to. If you can't, maybe like share the link with your friends or something like that, and see where it goes. And yeah, I know the irony here is not lost on me. I know I've occasionally made fun of people like Darkside Phil for relying on donations and things like that to keep them afloat. And yeah, I get it. Maybe it's karma. I don't know. But I feel that it's a very similar situation. I kind of feel that mine is a bit different in the sense that, like, I see the end of the line, and I'm either gonna, take an appropriate detour and find a new apartment, or just stop and turn around and go back home. Like, I know what to expect when this is all over. I'm not gonna try and, delay the inevitable. Like, holy shit, you hear that thunder outside? Holy crap. I lost my train of thought because of that thunder. Oh my god. Yeah, I know I have the means to, take care of, mostly handle all of my utilities and rent if it was a cheaper apartment. You know what I mean? Like, this job, I could probably find a better job, but I kind of want to stick with this because I think that over time I'll get more benefits. I'll get a bit of a pay wage increase, and I kind of want to keep this ball rolling. So yeah, I know I can do this, but just not at this current location. That's the plan. I want to be able to have this job, find someplace affordable, and then that would be the solid foundation that I want. So that way I can work up from there, and then, maybe go back to college, but not to that one. I'm going to go somewhere different. Like, I have no business with that place anymore. I don't even want to be associated with them. But yeah, that's the plan. Keep the job, get a cheaper apartment, start from scratch, work up from there. If not, go back home, live with mom, find a job there, get back on track, and then maybe move back to Atlanta or something like that. That's the idea. I'm not feeling crazy confident about it, but that's pretty much all I have. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with me, which is also the reason why I haven't been uploading content as much as usual. Like, working 40 hours a week now, I don't really want to do work in the morning, and then when I get home from work in the evening, I don't usually want to do a lot of video editing and stuff like that. Though I might do a short stream every now and then, like a short hour-long gameplay stream on Twitch, stuff like that. I do kind of want to get back into the swing of things, but first things first, I gotta take care of myself. You know what I mean? I gotta make sure that I'm not dead and broke and hungry and dead. So, yeah, that's about it. Again, I'll post the link to the GoFundMe page in the video description, and I'll just leave it at that. So, thanks for listening, and have a good day.